Why are only 1 in 4 estate agency managers been trained as managers? Today I'm joined by Holly Marshall, who is a trainer, a leadership trainer, and she's helped loads of UK estate agents around the country. And she's here to talk to me about why we as an industry are absolutely atrocious at training our future managers. I mean, 1 in 4, I mean, wow. That, although if you actually look at it, Holly, that does sound about right. You're a valuer. We'll just send someone over. I mean, the numbers used to be huge in the old days because everyone used to go to work for Countrywide and Connells and the Halifax, and you'd go on management training. Yes. It just doesn't happen anymore. Why is that? Talk to me.
We get excited about income generation as businesses. And when people first step into the lines of management, we still push them on the income generation point. We became pre-pandemic task obsessed. If you look at any estate agency pre-pandemic, it was all about task-based productivity. How much can you shove in at the top? Because if you shove enough in at the top, you'll get what you want out of the bottom. Good management, they choose what they put in at the top, so you get better quality out at the bottom, and you don't get those log jams in the middle where the whole mechanism just stops. We get so excited when we get a good value. We go, yeah, we need to keep them. We've got to keep them.
So we've got to keep them, so we'll make them a branch manager.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the number of great valuers that I know who've made atrocious branch managers, it's unbelievable.
Yes. We take people, I know, I'm going to use myself as an example. But the day I was promoted to be manager, I was managing a really small estate agency. It was Allen and Harris in a small village called Rawton. And I went to bed a valuer and I woke up a branch manager, and I thought, everybody's going to do what I tell them to do. I'm really excited. I've got an assistant, I can tell her what to do and she'll do it. I couldn't have been further from the truth. And we make these assumptions and we go in there and we fall flat on our face. I was one of the best valuers in the area. And I'd go out and I'd value properties, and then I'd go and I'd get my name up in lights. Loved it. It was my management journey that taught me. It was the team that got those instructions, not me. And I had to look after the team. And I had to flex my behaviour in line with the team, not the other way around.
That's quite hard work, especially for a fancy pants solicitor who goes, who rolls in at 8:30, rolls out at 9:30. You don't see him until 4.
Yeah, yeah. It's huge to suddenly realise that you're driving the ship now, rather than just contributing to it. So we do this as business leaders. We put them into this position, and then we go, all right, this is really, really difficult. Off you pop.
Why don't we train them? I know I can't count more than 9 or 10 estate agency trainers in the UK for independent estate agents, and there's 14,000 of them. Why are we so bad at it?
One of the first things that happens when the purse strings get tight is we stop developing who we've got. When we start to just leave the porch light on and turn everything else off, support and development is one of the first roles to go. Only the compliance trainers that keep you out of jail will be the ones that carry on. Yet, how ironic is that? Because it's your trainer that will support your team to weather the storms. And a good trainer will prove that return on investment anyway.
It's the same with marketing.
Yes.
The market hardens up, so they reduce the marketing,
Absolutely.
which is going to means that they can get more listings from a smaller pie.
So we make backward decisions. What happens, I found this out quite recently and I've become almost obsessed with it. When we think sensibly, all the blood is at the frontal lobe of our brain. This is where the sensible bit of the brain is. This is why frontal lobe brain injuries are so disastrous. When you put pressure onto somebody, and they've done the neuroscience and the scans to prove this, all the blood drains from the front of the brain and it feeds the back of the brain. And that's where your troublemaker lives. That's your fight, flight or freeze part of your brain. So as soon as you're under pressure, your ability to make good cognitive business decisions goes. And that's the same as a manager. You put pressure on your manager, their sensible decision process goes. The same with a valuer, the same with a negotiator. Put too much pressure on them, they don't make good decisions. They get defensive, they don't own their mistakes, so they don't learn from their mistakes, and you spiral down. To have a good management trainer, that's my plug.
Okay, let's assume that they, let's just say they can't afford you.
Yes.
What great advice would you give to someone? Because we're here about giving value. I know there's going to be plenty of people here that will be able to afford you, but what advice would you give to people who, let's look at two people. First one is the person who's been parachuted into a branch manager role, who's had no training. I mean, surely there's so much stuff out there, YouTube and everything. Who would you advise they follow?
I'm a big advocate of LinkedIn Learning, but that obviously comes with a cost because there's so much in there. It's one of the best libraries you can get hold of. So get yourself a free trial on LinkedIn Learning for a month, and that won't cost you anything. I would follow you. I would follow.
I don't do management. I know I do thought leadership. I'm more business generation.
In terms of management, I get very heavily involved with the CMI, and that's the Chartered Management Institute. They offer a lot of free guidance, a lot of free fact sheets out there. Do your research. You can even make it simpler than that. Stop and breathe and think about what you're doing. You have promoted somebody who is very good at speaking to people and very good at getting their customers to do what they're leading them to do. Those skills are transferable to management if you just stop and think for a minute, which is why I enjoy coaching, because the vast majority of solutions out there, you've already got in your own head because you use it when you speak to your customers. Would you ever speak to your customers the way you speak to somebody that works for you in the office?
No.
No. Perhaps we should a little bit more because we're trying to coax and work with our customers.
Is this the classic leadership where you work for them as opposed to the manager where they work for you?
Yes, very, very much so. A manager goes to their direct reports with a problem and a solution, and you get on with it. A leader goes to their group of branch. So a regional leader would go to their group of branch managers and say, right, this is the challenge we've got in the industry going forwards. Let's collaborate and find a solution on that. Work together. Use the resources you've got to hand. Going back, you talk about if you go, again, under pressure and you go too direct, you push people and the blood goes to the back of their brain, you don't get the best out of them. You collaborate with them, you pull the information out of their brain. It's much, much easier, much harder to do because you have to stop and think. And when you're under pressure, the blood's drained from the sensible part of your brain.
Yeah, it's almost, you've got to put your own life jacket on first.
You have. I did a couple of years being an air hostess, and that's one of the mottos I use is, you've got to put your own oxygen mask on first. You really, really do. I have to remind myself that regularly.
Holly, thank you for your insight today. It's been exceptional.
You're very welcome. Thank you for listening.